Yeah. Hey everyone, good to see you. Welcome to revision evening. Not really in the evening. Hopefully we do this in tutor time, but obviously parents can also watch this at home, watch it with their year 11s. So normally we do this in an evening. It takes about an hour. We're going to try and do this much quicker than that because want to watch this maybe in a couple of tutor periods to give you some idea in preparation for the mock exams that are coming up from the 9th of November, which is the second week back after half term. How to revise, what to revise, when to revise, and what the best tips are. So I'm going to share my screen with you because I've got a little presentation and we'll go through that and hopefully this will give you everything you need. So bear with me just a moment. Here we go. So this is the presentation, how to revise, what to revise and when to revise. And hopefully this will cover everything you need to do. So this is my mantra about this. If you do what you've always done, you'll get where you always got. So if you're looking to improve, if you're looking to develop, if you're looking to get better attainment, you need to think about the way you do things. You need to think about how you revise, how you work. And that's really what this is about. What I really want to focus on here is this is not me or Miss Lyons or Mrs. Johnson or your tutors or anybody telling you what you've got to do. It's giving you some advice, giving you some hints, giving you some suggestions from our pretty wide experience of this sort of thing, is to try some new ideas and try things out. One of the reasons we do mock exams is to give you the opportunity to try things out to see how it works. So let's see where we're going. So you really need to start thinking about this now. It's not very far away, actually, the mock exams. Now, I don't want to scare you. I don't think it's a big deal. I think you can all cope with this, but you do need to start thinking about a revision timetable now. I'll give you some examples of a revision timetable. Here are 3 examples, which we'll come back to in just a moment. But in order to revise, you really probably should be doing something now. Now, I know you have to balance that with homeworks that you've got. That's entirely understandable. But I would think probably at the moment 1 to 2 sessions a night. And from a night, I mean, you get home about 3:30-ish or whenever. Some of you a bit later. Some of you are staying in school for revision sessions now. As I was wandering around the school this evening, there were lots and lots of you in school doing extra work with lots of different subjects. That's really good. As you get to weekends, a bit longer, as you then get to half term, especially, and we've got that half term before your mocks, you should be aiming to do 2 to 4 sessions a day. Now, that's not appropriate all the time. That's not necessary all the time. That's not the right thing to do for everybody every day, but you should aim for something along those lines. But you do need to think about when you study and how long you study for. 20 to 45 minutes at a time is the maximum that most people can really properly concentrate, understand and remember. Obviously, as you get towards your actual GCSEs in the summer, you need to make that time expand and get bigger because you're going to be sitting for potentially 2.5 hours at a time. But at the moment, maximum 45 minutes at a time. But there's that point there. We're all different. Something else might work for you. So what does a revision timetable actually look like? Well, there's one on the right-hand side here that basically breaks down the week by each hour. I can't imagine many of you are going to be up at 7 o'clock, but you know what I mean. There's a much more simpler one on the top left-hand side, which breaks in from morning and afternoon and evening sessions. If I'm talking about 2 to 4 sessions a day, that might be a way forward. You can do it. The bottom left-hand corner one's really detailed and actually looks like something from an A-level student or even a university level student. But what I like about it is it actually includes other things in it. And what I really wanted you to think about was the fact that you don't actually have to put work in all the time. It is possible to go to the cinema with your friend. Well, actually, it's probably not too easy to go to the cinema at the moment, but that sort of thing. It might be that you're visiting your friends. It might be that you're visiting your granny in Glasgow, as it says on there. It might be that you're having a family dinner. It might be your birthday during half term. It might be your sister or your brother's birthday or whatever it is. You don't have to work all the time. You should be doing other things, be that football training or a football match or anything really. Doesn't matter what it is. Build that in as well. So that's a revision timetable. Lots of these available online. We will give you a copy of our one, but actually you should create your own, the one that works for you. Okay, that's most important. So the second thing that was on here, as you can see, is, well, what topics do you need to revise? Can you rag them? That means, can you rate them? Can you red, amber and green them for what you can do? So this is how you need to do this. There are 5 no's. This is what you need to know. You need to know what exams you're taking. You need to know when you're taking the exams, what are the dates of each of the exams. You need to know what's going to be in each exam. So actually, what will you be examined on? Know the rules and regulations of the exam. How long will it last? What can I take in with me? Is it a calculated paper? Is it not a calculated paper? That sort of thing. Can I take the textbook in with me for English or not? Those sorts of things. Know where the exams are. So you may have most of your exams might be in the gym, but some of you might be in the G block or in the conference room or anywhere. All of that information is available. It will be pinned up outside the gym by the PE changing rooms, or it will be and it will be outside the head of learning on the window by the library in the admin block, and you can find all that information out. Okay, but I'm going to just share something else with you which will help you, and we're going to ask you to fill this in. So we'll give you a copy of this in your tutor time, and you can see it's a Key Stage 4 mock exam revision planner, and you can see it's asking a series of questions, and you can ask your teachers about this. So how many exams and when are they and how long are they, and you can fill that in the first column here. And in the second column, well, what topics do I need to revise? Ask your teachers what topics are going to be in the exam, not what questions they're going to be. Hopefully they won't tell you that, because it kind of defeats the point of a mock exam. But what topics are they going to be? And for all of your subjects, you can fill in this. So what that will mean is it gives you, well, we've got option A, B and C. That is, your option block, so you can have the same sheet for everybody. But ask them what is going to be in the exam. That way you know what you need to revise. Okay, very, very important. So that brings us on to task 1. And your tutor might go through this with you, but this could be something that you do at home anyway. Okay, but complete that sheet. Find out when your exams are. Make sure the topics are clearly listed. You can do that with your friends in tutor time if you wanted. Then make sure you rag it yourself. So highlight the topics that are green, highlight topics green that you know you're good at and you understand and you're confident about. Ones that are amber that you're not certain about, and the red ones that you're not at all confident about, don't fully understand. Then when you're planning your revision timetable, you know what you need to work the most on in order to benefit that. And you can make the most progress by revising and spending more time on the topics you're less sure about. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ignore the things you're good at, of course, but you do need to work on the things that you're less good at. So that's the first task that you need to do. Okay, so let's go over what is basically how to revise. Now, this is absolutely basic, and it will be different for different people. So for different students, we'll have different ways of doing it. If you've been absolutely brilliant all along and everything's fine, continue to do that. But this is what you do. 1, read your work on a topic and make summary notes or spider diagrams. Okay. When you feel you've understood and can remember what you've read, close your notes, sometimes go away. Okay. Come back a few moments later and then write out the main points without looking at your notes. Then cross-check the original notes with the new ones. So mark it. Is it correct? Have I got it right? If you have, brilliant. If you haven't, redo number 1, okay, and then repeat numbers 2 and 3 and go over it, perhaps in a different colour, okay? So therefore you can add to it with a different colour, but never ever just read it, never ever copy it out. It needs to be active. It needs to be something you think about. So having a break between reading it and then trying to recall the notes is really, really important. Okay, that is a basic method which will hold you in good stead if that's what you do. Now, there are lots of ways to develop and embellish this, and that's what we're going to talk about over the next few slides. If you want to have a break, this is a good place to have a pause. Okay, let's move on. So I want to talk about revision models and how long you should revise for. Let's imagine you've only got an hour. Okay, I mean, an hour is quite a long time. I said to you before, most people can't concentrate for more than about 45 minutes anyway. So if you look at this, this is actually an hour's period of time split into 45 minutes because you're having breaks in between. And it's asking, first of all, you do a bit of science for 10 minutes. So you read, you consider it, you might make some notes, and then you shut it all away, and then you spend 5 minutes writing out everything you can remember. Check it, check you've got it right, move on. Have a break, then move on and do exactly the same thing for history. Okay, then have a break, and then perhaps do some science, and then perhaps some history, generally recalling all of that. Breaking up subjects and topics is good, so you don't spend 3 hours on Macbeth or hour and a half just doing photosynthesis. Break it up into different topics and different subjects. Okay, give yourself some variety, give yourself some breaks. That's the first model example if you've got 1 hour. If you've got 2 hours, and that would be good if you're looking at a 2-hour break. That doesn't mean a 2-hour revision window. Doesn't mean you spend 2 whole hours solidly working. What it means is you might do exactly the same thing, bit of French, studying some French, going over some French, and then that recall without the information, writing it out, trying to condense it. We'll talk about condensing in a minute, trying to condense it into different format. Then have a break. Then 25 minutes with maths, some recall, have a break. Then 20 minutes with geography, recall, have a break, and then a general recall of what you can remember of the different things. Variety is the key, breaks are the key, short spells of revision, as long as it's effective. Absolutely has to be effective. Don't pretend that you're revising. Now, this is something I got off the internet, and I quite like it because there are different ways to revise. Another way is doing a past paper or a past question. Maths do this an awful lot. Before your actual exams, you'll get every single past maths question that there's ever been, I think, since about 1826 at GCSE. This gives you an example of Geography A level, but don't worry too much about Geography A level. It could be for anything. But what it is saying is choose a past paper question. Okay, you're going to choose your question. You're going to pick the subject, do the question. You'll have them in your book. You'll have them on revision stuff. Then spend 20 minutes revising. So again, that might be all the things you need to know about that. Okay, reading it in the book, shutting the book, writing it out, closing it out, and then after 20 minutes, stopping, having a little break for a minute. And if the question is 20 minutes worth of answer, spend 20 minutes answering that question. Not looking at anything, but just actually do the question. If it's only a 15-minute question, do the 15 minutes. You should know roughly how long you need to spend on each question. Once you've done it, then mark it. So if you've got a mark scheme for it, which you should have, mark it, and any issues, give it your teacher to look at it and answer it. Now, teachers aren't going to thank me because it's going to mean that if you all do this, you're going to be giving loads and loads of questions to your teachers. But it is a good way of revising. Past paper questions are absolutely crucial. I strongly recommend them. Okay, so I talked about condensing just a second ago, and condensing is really important. So when you are revising, when you're writing stuff down, when you're doing that recall that you're not really, you're not looking at your notes at all, you're not looking at your textbook or your exercise book at all, you're just writing it from what you've been reading, what you've made notes on previously, a really good thing is to try and reduce it to 20% of the words that were actually in it. Okay, so if you're making notes, you do not need to write down everything. You don't need to write down connectives, you don't need to write down words, adjectives and descriptive words, unnecessary. What you need is the 20% of the actual meaning of the text. There's two examples here. The top one, you don't need to worry about too much. It's an example of a particular exercise we do in this evening live. But the one below that is Henry VIII's wives and Henry VIII's situation and what he was like and why he changed the religion, and it breaks it down. You can imagine that would have been 2 or 3 pages worth of text in an exercise in a textbook, and it's broken down into one diagram that gives you all the information you need. That is called condensing, and it is absolutely vital for learning how to revise. So next task. Okay, next task is really important. So you might be doing this in tutor time, but you can do this at home. So bring in an exercise book or a textbook of a subject or topic you want to revise. Now, this will be something you do at home anyway, so you don't necessarily need to bring it in. Read through a section or a topic that you want to or need to revise, and initially condense it down to 20% of the content. So reduce it. You could turn it into bullet points or into a flow diagram or to a spider diagram, more of which in a moment. Use keywords. So the keywords are absolutely vital. And you could use large writing, capital letters, colours, make it stand out, make it memorable, but condense it to 20%. It will help you remember it, and it means you were focusing on the things that are important, okay? The key words and the key concepts and the key ideas. Okay, so task 2, condensing. Can I have a pause there for a moment if you like? I'm going to have a sup of tea. And we can move on to task 3. So task 3 are revision and flashcards. Now, lots of people, maybe everybody, uses revision cards and flashcards. Are a really good way of condensing the material. So it's following on from task 2. Okay, you can buy them from supermarkets, from anywhere really, and you can make flashcards. Got pictures of some flashcards on the next slide. Okay, well, what I want you to do is to practice making some revision cards, some flashcards on any topic that you have to revise from. Okay, really good idea is to have a margin. If you put a margin down the left hand side, then when you make the flashcard and you put a title on it and you maybe even number it so you know what order they need to go in, okay, if you've got a margin, you can actually then add extra details to the flashcard, and that way you can go back to it and add to it, and you've got space on it on the margin. Okay, you can make them colourful. They should include the main concepts and facts, essential vocabulary. If you get one wrong, throw it away. Okay, but make little books, use little treasury tags to bring them together, then they're about the same topic. If I give you the next slide, is quite nice on this. This is some examples here of something to, I'm guessing this is physics. Okay, I got it off the internet, I must admit, but I think it's physics. And you can see we've got resultant forces, gravitational potential energy, impact forces, kinetic energy, momentum, forces between objects, and so on, all the way to the front one, falling objects, which gives a load of information about falling objects, highlighted little pictures there to illustrate it. Really quite nice. And these index cards you can turn into flashcards or revision cards, and you can get people to test you on them. Whilst you're talking of testing, this one I like because it has questions on it. So you see at the top here, it says, what is a diffraction pattern? When do they occur? And if you turn it over on the other side is the answer. Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually know what the answer is. And if you're not sure, ask Mr. Davies, Mr. May or Dr. Sanderson. I'm sure they will know the answer. But hopefully it's something you're expected to know. But using them as questions is really good, because then actually you can get friends to test you. You can get your family to test you. So parents, if you're watching, you can use revision cards to help test your son or daughter with things. Really, really good idea. So flashcards and revision cards, really, really important. Can't stress enough how useful they are. Okay, so next exercise, next strategy for revision, not for marking, for revision, is using association maps, otherwise called A maps, spider diagrams or mind maps. Okay, now I often call them spider diagrams, but they're really good for drawing links between ideas or getting an overview of a topic, or if you want to show cause and consequence. So if you want to show this happened and this is the reason why it happened, you have a spider diagram that showed the links between ideas. So typically you all know how to do this. Okay, a bigger sheet as possible is good. If you've got a revision book, like a revision exercise book, you could use a double page in it, which is sort of like A3. You write the main topic or question in the middle, draw a ring around it or a bubble around it, and then draw branches out for each key point. And then as you add further branches, you add detail to it, and then you can highlight links and connections, add diagrams, pictures and symbols, etc. So again, try this, use this to help you. But again, don't copy it. The idea is this is one of those exercises you do that instead of copying it from a book, you read the book, you look at it, you think about it, you close the book, and then you turn that information using your recall into a spider diagram or a mind map or an association map. Let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, this is one from Macbeth, and you can see the sorts of things you have here. Who are the main characters in Macbeth? Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, Macduff, Lady Macduff, Donalbain, Malcolm, King Duncan, Banquo, and then as the arrows go out, as the lines, the branches go out, you'll have character traits for each character, and then famous quotes by each character on it. And there you'd have a spider diagram, an association map, a mind map about all the main characters in Macbeth, if that's something you need to do. This is quite nice. This I lifted off the internet, I'm afraid, so I can't remember exactly where I got it from, but it gives you a really nice idea of the sorts of things and how to do a mind map. Okay, we'll send out a copy of this presentation so that you can see a better version of this and not just have to watch the video and get to this point in the video and pause it. But if you want to pause it, now is probably a good time to pause it, and you can have a little look at this and see how do you do it and what sort of things do you include. Okay, so mind maps, really, really important. Let's move on. Task 5. We referenced these in the revision, not the revision evening, in the sort of introduction to year 11 evening we did last week. You will have a Pixel app, and you'll have access to your Pixel app in English, Maths, Geography and or History. And you should all know how to get onto the Pixel app. If you don't know, you need to ask your subject teacher or your head of, or the head of department. If you still don't know, ask me. Science, use Tassami, and you should all, hopefully, you can all access Tassami if you choose to use it. For Pixel, what's really good about the Pixel apps is that you can use them every single day. They'll give you a little test every single day. You could do it for 10 or 15 minutes. You could do it over breakfast when you get up. You could do it on the bus in the way into school. You could do it whilst you're waiting to be picked up for to go to football training on a Thursday night. You could do it any time that you're waiting. What we found in the past is that the Pixel apps are really, really helpful, and you should use them as much as possible. Okay, log on every single day and use them every single day. And they are those where we looked at that hour model that we had earlier, and those 10-minute sessions. A Pixel app in English, Maths or History or Geography or whatever is brilliant for a 10-minute window to get stuff done really effectively. So use the Pixel apps. Similarly, log on to Tassami. BBC Bite Size is actually a really useful way of revising as well, as long as you're looking at the right things. Okay, I'm sure many of you have got revision guides, which I haven't got written on here, but revision guides are also very useful, as long as you're not just copying them or reading them, because that is very little use to anybody. It won't help you remember stuff. Revision has to be active. So this is from a top tips that I think is worth considering. Okay, and I just want to run round these, starting from the left-hand side, top left-hand side. Really, is some revision tips that are really useful for everybody. Okay, so the first one is about going public. So do a revision timetable, stick it up so that everybody in your family can see it, so everybody knows what you're doing. Okay, when you're revising, when we come to question yourself, when you're revising, question yourself, write down questions. So sometimes you might have you might do a spider diagram, and in the middle of the spider diagram would be a question. On your flashcards, write down questions on one side, which you've already mentioned. On the other side, answer the question, so people can test you on it and will repeatedly question you, so you get the answers on the key facts and the key answers that you need to worry about. Bottom left-hand corner, switch off, unplug your. It says here, I'm going to read it out to you. Unplug your internet connection as it's too tempting to surf the web and turn off your mobile phone, etc. and so on. I'd agree with that 100%. If you're revising and you're not using the Pixel app on your phone, turn off your phone. Give your phone to your parents. If you're saying I'm going to do an hour's worth of revision, then do an hour's worth of revision. Don't pretend you're doing an hour's worth of revision and actually it's only been 15 minutes, because the rest of the time you've been checking Instagram and TikTok. That doesn't help anybody, and doesn't help you, and you're just lying to yourself, and you'll waste your time, and you'll end up potentially spending 3 hours doing something that you might have been able to do in 45 minutes, and you've wasted everybody's time. Bit there that you can't quite see at the bottom says rise early. There is some scientific research that suggests if you do it early, you remember it better. Early in the day, this is. So there's lots to be said for that. Okay. Your notes need to be legible. So the top right hand corner, it says writing clear legible notes is a vital tool in the revision process. So use colour, use highlighters, make nice revision cards and flashcards, make nice association maps, etc. in order to make it memorable. For keywords, key vocabulary, key concepts, highlight them, put them in bold, make them stand out. Use your friends as well. The green one that you can't really see actually talks about, well, ask your friends to help you with a session, invite them over. Obviously you can't have more than 5 friends around, and if you've got family there it'll be even less than that, but use some friends to help you do some revision, but make sure it's actually revision. Don't just invite your friends around and waste time. It's very important to do that properly, okay, and effectively. Add variety. So mix it around. Don't say, today I'm doing a day of biology, and just spend the whole day going trudging through biology. Now, I apologise, Dr. Kellaway. Obviously, doing any biology is not drudgery, but it's a good idea to break it round from one slot to another different subject and another session to another subject and another session. Very useful, makes it a bit more interesting and alternates, particularly if you want to make sure that the subjects that you like least, you mix in with subjects you do like, so consequently you will focus on it and do it. There's some advice here about eating sensibly and helping yourself with brain food, I suppose they call it. Bananas and water is what you need to have. Bananas are really good, keep you hydrated and keep your energy levels up, and make sure you drink plenty of water. Don't dehydrate yourself. I say that sitting here drinking a cup of tea, which does dehydrate you, but water really, really good. The bottom one there says relax. The most important thing to remember is not to panic. You're going to be fine. Every single year students go through these exams and they are absolutely fine. So don't panic. It's the message I will say. I said this to your parents just last week. I don't know if many of you were watching. I've never been more confident in your teachers. I've never been more confident in the heads of department of the subjects that you're doing GCSEs in, and the leadership in those subject areas is absolutely second to none. I've worked in lots of schools and I've been a teacher for a very long time, and I have never known a group of teachers who are as good as the group of teachers that you currently have. You may have missed a few months of school. So did everybody else. Your exams are comparable with everybody else. You will do as well as everybody else does, relatively. So your result will depend on how well you do compared to somebody else. Comparable exam results. Therefore, everybody's in the same boat. So actually, you don't need to panic and you don't need to worry. I mean, a little bit of panic and a little bit of worry helps you do revision, and means you do focus on a revision timetable and you spend a bit of time doing really good cards, revision cards, etc. But it won't be helpful if you spend all your time worrying about it. It's going to happen, it will come and it will pass, and the world will keep spinning. But what you want to do is make sure that you are as comfortable and positive as you can be without going too stir crazy over it. It will be fine. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. So that's largely it. That's revision in one nutshell. Not quite sure how long this is, probably half an hour or so, 20 minutes. Hopefully, if you're students, you've watched this during a couple of tutor periods. If you are a parent, I hope you've watched it and maybe paused it a couple of times. We will send out a booklet. We've got a revision booklet that we'll send out. We've also got, which has got a revision timetable in it, and students will get an opportunity to find out from their teachers what their subjects are that they need to, and the topics in those subjects that they need to revise for their mocks. But use the time well. You have got half term, which is better than most years. Most years they have it before Christmas. This year you've got it before Christmas, so you don't have to worry about it over Christmas, and you've got it after half term, so you've actually got a half term to revise in. I would use that time because it's a really good, effective use of time. But as I said before, don't worry, don't panic. Everything will be fine. Trust me. Good luck.